Hey guys, welcome to another live show, another live She Knows Arsenal. Make sure you guys are liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and getting into that chat, letting us know how you guys are thinking and feeling. This is going to serve as your match reaction for Newcastle, and we're also going to talk about some macro things, going trophyless, potentially the PR briefs that have already started, and just like it's been a week of nonsense, or like let's call it 9 days of nonsense from the Wolves match and the red card and Miles Lewis Skelly to City and beating them, and then all of a sudden being villainized for. I mean, it's so funny because Newcastle are now celebrating, which they have every right to, and bantering us, and they haven't won anything, but no one seems to care about them doing it. But when Arsenal does it, what did Xhaka say? Whenever Arsenal do something, it's for some reason it's like a problem. And then the Newcastle game, which was pretty tragic, one of our worst performances of the season. I think most of our poor performances this season have came against Newcastle. This is the third time they beat us this season, and we haven't scored not one goal against them. Pretty shocking. They're on their way to Dubai now, or they're in Dubai now in the sun, enjoying, while we're picking up the pieces here on these microphones. So, yeah, deluded. How are you feeling post getting knocked out of the Carabao Cup? A cup that everybody says is a nothing cup, to Newcastle.
What can you say, Jess, man? Like, we've got no divine right to be in any finals or win any games. But I mean, I'm pretty sure you know what I'm like now. We've done a lot of content. I'm all about the performance. As long as I can look at my 11 players and say, you know what, we gave everything we could. They were just the better men. Let's go back to the drawing board. There's going to be too many regrets. You would have thought Newcastle the ones chasing the tie. The way Newcastle played, the way Eddie Howe changed his tactics, the way the fans did what they're doing is everything what you think of a fixture at St. James's Park. For us, obviously, David Raya and Saliba are normally the heroes. Normally, they get us out of jail. Unfortunately, our defenders didn't have a good day. Our attackers, it's the same issues. It's just a mess, isn't it? Like, tactically, it was a mess. Mikel Arteta had no answers for Eddie Howe. Individually, we wasn't winning our battles. I do think there was an element of fatigue, but there's no excuse. You're 2 goals down with a realistic chance of, if you come from behind, at least 2 goals of minimum, getting into a final at Wembley. And it's these players, obviously us fans, but it's these players who have to sit there in May and think of regret. So across all aspects, tactically, technically, it was terrible, and really and truly isolated away from the fact that it's Newcastle, as you said. Come on now. Anyone that's been watching Arsenal, it's the same old things we're talking about. Minimal chances, not taking them, not having a forward, not having difference makers off the bench, relying on young players. It's a mess, isn't it? It was a mess. Credit to Newcastle. Best of luck for the final. Us, it is what it is. They're in Dubai. I'd be ashamed. I'd be really ashamed of Mikel Arteta if they were to enjoy it. I do think there's got to be elements of like looking away from football, but they're going to be doing hella cardio in the sun. There's no enjoying that journey. There's none of that. So that's how I feel.
Yeah. Horrible. I mean, you spoke about the Newcastle performance and how they look like a team that was down. They also came to the Emirates and played really well and looked very confident in the way that they set up and the way that they attacked the game. We played a game against City stacked in between 2 probably not so great performances, despite getting the result against Wolves. Have we ever seen Arsenal put in a performance like Newcastle did in a cup competition under Mikel Arteta?
Apart from the final against City way back when, yeah. But that's the thing. Like, obviously, if we want to be a team that what the Cronkies want of just getting in the top 4 and all the positive statistics, because we are a mess, but we're not a mess. We're second at the end of the day. I'm not going to behave like we're getting relegated and whatnot. Yeah. If we want to just continue having the kind of seasons and doing what we've been doing, not getting embarrassed in Europe, getting in a semi-final, we've got more than enough. But you see, if you want to get over the line, there's so much we need to do on the recruitment market. There's so much Mikel Arteta has to do to arrest his own tactical flaws. And you mentioned City, right? We do that. We did that last year. A couple of occasions across the season were galvanized. We're up for it. I know you can't be like that every game. You certainly can't score 5 goals every game, even against City with their form. But that needs to be the minimum. You see, if you want to win a league title, it's not me being harsh. That sort of level of performance has to be the minimum requirement from everyone. It's not enough to half be on it. We saw this last season. A couple of really good performances away from the scoreline. Other than that, we're getting over the line. Obviously, you said it on my platform. Unfortunately, there's been a couple of games where they've truly mattered, like Newcastle second leg, Bayern Munich last season, Aston
Mhm.
Villa at home. When you've truly needed to get over the line, unfortunately, we've crumbled, really. So I do think the mentality's improved, but I wouldn't go as far as to say we're mentality monsters. We've got a couple of players with the dog in them, but there's no point 3 or 4 players being like that. One of them being Lewis Skelly, who's been in the first team 2 minutes. Everyone needs to be like that. It's more of the same. I'm sure we're going to speak about it, but like we're watching the same game on repeat, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan is saying yes against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup last season. We did play very well, but couldn't hit the net. And I think that's the thing, that there's always a but. There's always a, yeah, we did okay.
Context.
We had the possession,
That's what I mean about the same old story, Jess. Like
but
it's the same old things.
yeah, but you can't say that, Liverpool, even though we had all those chances, it's the conviction behind the shots that make them go in the back of the net. We lack conviction. And Newcastle were very confident that they were going to go through when they came to the Emirates and yesterday. I don't think I've ever seen us apply ourselves the way that they had.
On a
Ever.
consistent basis, I don't think we have.
Not in a do or die game where if you don't perform well, you're going to be out of a cup or whatever. Not like that. I've seen us do that in a random ass game that doesn't really matter at times, that doesn't end up being like the end all be all. But like you said, Bayern last season, that was honest, like against that Bayern side, drawing at home and capitulating the way that we did. Very similar situation, you guys. Like people are
First
talking,
leg, I'm cool. It's the second leg. It's literally the second leg.
it's this, why is it the case
Even
that
Porto.
Ben White misses that one chance that's a sitter, let's be honest, and then they turn around and score within like the next 2 minutes? It happens a lot.
What happened yesterday with that?
Yeah,
What
and
you
it
said?
happened, but even remember,
We did that against City. This is
yeah,
football.
the last couple of games like in this season, we're always on edge because we have all this possession and we have these chances and we miss one, even against Bournemouth. I know we were down a man, but Martinelli misses that really good chance. They come right down. Christie is wide open on the edge of the box and they score within a minute or so. So it's all good and well and fine to like when people say we're playing well, I feel like we all have a different definition of that. For some people it's possession. For other people it's,
What you do with possession, though.
yeah, it's XG. For me it's you feel it. And I felt that Newcastle played well yesterday. I felt that they played well at the Emirates and I felt like they had conviction. Do you feel like we've lacked conviction, in general? That's a big thing that this team lacks. Is it
On a
just
consistent basis to get over the line, just 1,000,000%. Like I said, we've got enough conviction if we want to keep just challenging for the top four, get into the latter stages of silverware, getting over the line. We need conviction. It's a case of mentality. It's a case of flexibility with the tactics. It's a case of, to win trophies, it's not always about how you are at your best. There's an element of how you are at your worst. I'm someone who I love all that XG and possession and all of that, but it's copium. You're going to see what you want to see at the end of the day. Yeah, we had across the 2 legs, like 30 odd chances, 8 clear cut opportunities. We're second top goal scorers in the Prem. We got 90 odd last season. So we could sit here and manipulate stats and act like we don't, like we score a lot of goals, which is true. But when it comes down to it, and honestly in your heart, when you look at everybody, and Saka's irrelevant in the sense that he's not fit, who do you genuinely believe in? We can dominate all the statistics apart from the ones that matter. Like we keep talking about fine margins. When was the last time we was on the right side of the fine margins? Off the top of my head, I would say Aston Villa away earlier in the season. Again, purely under the lens of getting over the line, it's not enough. It's not.
exactly? And I get the fatigue conversation, like, we're tired, but I'm so sorry. The team just wanted to beat Man City more than they wanted to go to St. James and win. I'm sorry. Like, even if you're tired, and you guys know this in real life, if you're tired and you really want to do something, it gets done. If you're tired and you don't want to, you don't. It's the truth. You can persevere, and we could have played better than what we did yesterday. 1,000%. That was not all fatigue. The first couple minutes of that game, we were trying to score. We didn't. And as soon as they scored, the heads went down.
alarm bell should have went off when, again, I said it on my channel, VAR was the best piece of Arsenal defending yesterday. If you weren't prepared for that St James's roar in the game and the dynamic we was going into, definitely alarm bell should have went off. And it was just poor. Every aspect of it was poor. Like, second best all over the park. They're playing, Eddie Howe's playing the back five and they're still attacking. We were just not good enough. We were not good enough. I wasn't happy with the performance in the first leg, but it looks a lot better than what I saw in the second leg. All you wanted us to do is obviously get back in the time, maybe get early goal, early doors like against City and make things. But yeah, man, there's not enough grit. And obviously the team, like, it's the same things. We haven't got enough depth. Whether we should have signed people in the summer or Jan, it's neither here nor there. We know what we should have done. Players are spent. We're relying on the same players. We're watching the same thing week in, week out. If nothing changes, nothing changes,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think so. I wanted to get your opinion on this particular comment from Gray, because this is not how I feel. But how do you feel about this comment?
Let's not go over the top. It's very fine margins. We wouldn't be second and third in the league if we were that bad. I agree in theory in that, I do think us Arsenal fans, we can go over the top. We you would think we're back-to-back relegation and all of that. There is a good base. But at the end of the day, we know we're a good side. We know there's many positive statistics. It's about getting over the line. We are second. The manager himself says he wants to get over the line. The club, whether I believe in KSC or not, says they want to get over the line. We are third in the Champions League. We are, but again, the factors are out of our control. You never know in the champs, but that's a big ask. Premier League, you not only need Liverpool to drop a lot of points, we need to make sure we're damn right perfect, which we haven't been. So, yeah, and I disagree with the point about we're a striker away from winning top trophies. I definitely feel that's a step in the right direction, but I think we need a striker, we need a winger, we definitely need that long-term partner for Declan Rice, and that's to the starting 11. Clearly, we need more bodies. The manager, Mikel Arteta, said at the beginning and end of 2024, we have one of the smallest squads. In the build-up to the City game, he said, we came into this season trying to compete for 4 trophies with a squad of 19 with 3 or 4 long-term injuries. Bearing in mind the last 2 years, there's been international competitions. It's a fallacy. It's a fallacy. When you look at the summer we had, clearly those above Mikel Arteta, because I do think Arteta's heart's in the right place. It's more how you're going about it. We're in the Champions League. We're comfy. There's austerity measures going on. We've clearly got money, but we're not trying to spend it. It's all PSR and all of that. And I'm sure we'll get into it, Jess, but the briefs are coming out about the summer and this unique profile and all of that. The cycle continues, man. It continues.
Yeah, exactly. And I saw somebody in the comments saying it feels like we're just going around in circles. And I think that's because when you have 2 seasons where, as much as people want to chop it up, it's the same thing. We fell short, whether we were ahead and got caught up by City or we're behind and never caught them up. We didn't have enough, and it's really disappointing. We've done it twice, and now this season it's Liverpool. We're never the one that finishes at the top. We are kind of going around in circles, and it does feel like we've stagnated. And I understand what Gray is saying. This is why I feel like nuance in the conversation is so important. And often things are in a gray area. We are not a shit side. We are a very, very good team. But like you say all the time, we are a good team, not a great team. And the difference
over
between
the line now.
Yeah, we need to get over the line to be a great team. And we're missing it too often. Arteta's had at least 20 opportunities to win a trophy since the first half season, and we haven't even gotten to another final. I do think that's significant, and whether that's the talent gap needs to be bridged, what I think is really important, or he needs to bridge the gap in some way. We're not getting any closer. We're getting better at set pieces, but we're losing our ability to create chances. We have a better goalkeeper now, but now all of a sudden, like, the midfield's not clicking. There's always something that's missing, and the top striker away from winning trophies. I do think the difference in this tie was Gordon and Isak. I think if you stick those 2 in our team, we're completely different. Do you think that, like, in an alternate universe, if we have those 2 in our team, we're winning those trophies, like he's saying?
I
Or
think it's a lot. I think it's a lot deeper than that because I still think if you've got Isaac and Gordon and we assume Saka's fit, my front three is sorted, but we still don't have enough bodies. It's all fun and games in the early months of the season, saying, "Oh, if Timber's fit, what's going on with Benjamin White?" Once again, we're in 4 trophies. There's a point where the games are coming thick and fast. I think everybody can see injuries are unpredictable. We see man injured in training, broken toes, colds, hamstrings. The Saka's one as well. The list goes on. So it would help because naturally there's been numerous times like last season where if we had more clinical players or more quality in the final third, we would have nicked certain things. We probably beat Liverpool in the FA Cup or League Cup, whenever it was. Whether we win, that's another thing. We probably, you look at last season, there's so many games which I think we effed up in. Aston Villa being one of them, Newcastle slightly being one. I would say if anyone remembers West Ham at the Emirates last season where we had a million chances and could not put the ball in the back of the net, I think that, but it's deeper than that because with Arsenal, what if Isaac's injured at the same time as Gordon? Then it goes back to the depth. Their depth, for the very fact of whether the manager's got some blame or not, because we made a sideward step in terms of the size of the squad, let alone quality. The depth, it's not enough depth. Now, I know many people can cry about that. Many people will say Liverpool ain't got depth. Go and speak to Liverpool fans. They're not necessarily happy about the size of their squad. So where are we at with it? Like, of course, the attacking quality would have made a difference. But yeah, man, like quality additions to the starting 11 need more depth. And we go again next season. And I'm not saying that to even say we're going to win things next season and whatnot, but we're at that stage of the roundabout now, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
salvage what you can salvage, keep it moving, man.
exactly. Aha says, "Hey, both Newcastle had 3 very easy games against us this season. We have hardly laid a glove on them in 3 games, plus did not score, didn't look like scoring. Players' minds already in Dubai." I feel like you've kind of answered your own question in a way where if we haven't done it in 3 games, it can't possibly just be about Dubai. I think Newcastle is the type of team, kind of like Villa, that we really struggle against. Teams that are really good at counterattacking, that have real quality up front and can be in a stubborn mid block are the bane of our existence. We have pretty much dropped points against almost every single team that hasn't come out and play us for real. And if you have any sort of quality at the top end, it's almost guaranteed that you'll get a goal, but it's not guaranteed that we will. Like the Fulham game, I think, is a great example. That doesn't have anything to do with mines in Dubai. Odegaard was out there and Saka was out there, so it's not that we didn't have our better players out there. We literally could not break down their block. We played so slowly and so like just with no invention, no fun, nothing. It was just so like they look like they're going to a funeral. They came down one time and scored, and that's
And
all
that's
it took.
football. And that's football. Like I don't even agree with the rhetoric. I know Newcastle can do that horrible low block, but I think in the last 3 games, I don't even think they've done that. I think they've just been
No,
logically defensively. And I therefore don't feel anyone can accuse them of being defensive yesterday. They knew that we're gonna go along with Raya. Kai Havertz is by himself. They set up little traps which led to obviously Raya's mistake. They were just better than us at the St James's Park in the Prem. We were not at the races. It's a different one. Like we looked
right.
shook last night. Yesterday, look, well, I say yesterday in the last game, we just weren't at it, and you can't afford that, And that's where if you want to win a league title, we need to get into that scenario where we can confidently say we're going to go to Anfield, we're going to go St James's Park, we're going to go wherever, and we're confident of a positive result. As I said, a lot of this sort of stuff that we've shown in isolation, the latest being the mentality around the City game, that needs to be the minimum. Like we shouldn't be shocked around that. Like the conversation now has clearly moved from rebuild to getting over the line and all of these fine margins. Once again, all these fine and small margins, you could clip up Mikel Arteta speaking about this for years. We're never on the right side of them where we need to be. You could say fine margins was the difference between Bayern Munich. I don't think they care. I don't think Newcastle care. End of the day, you got to keep balls out the back of your net and put balls in the opponents. And I think Jess is bang on the money, especially in the final third. It's very scripted, which in isolation I'm not against, but it never goes up the gears. We always revert to type. It's quite predictable, really and truly. And there needs to be a bit of freshness. You have like 2-3 players max making forward runs, and then you've got a back 5 to contain. The numbers are not making sense. The hardest thing to do is to not only play simple football, but it's to score goals. And I do think Arteta is very intelligent. He's done all that madman stuff, and I'm just a naive armchair expert. Surely we've got to the point where It's just simple things now. You need an out and out number 9. Like he, away from obviously Isaac's golfing quality with Havertz, you can see the difference. Even with Anthony Gordon and Martinelli or whoever's on the left. What do I know though, man?
Yeah, I mean, there's uh, a school of thought where it's like, yeah, well, we're so close and we've gotten there and da da da. But a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, like us being figured out and the attack being strange, those things existed last season and we haven't really figured those things out. I think we're beyond people figuring us out. I genuinely think that Arteta needs to learn how to coach an effective attack, and that goes in direct opposition to who he is as a manager. He wants to be risk adverse. He doesn't want the gaps. We don't attack through the center. We never attack in the center, because if you lose the ball there, then you're in trouble. Everything we do is like almost counteractive to losing the game. And until we get to a point where we leave ourselves a little bit more exposed and we allow players to play to their strengths, I really think we're going to suffer. Nico says, like, Arteta isn't as good as many make him out to be. Marco Silva, Eddie Howe, Unai Emery, and Areola has this number, which is damning. I do think Arteta maybe is a little bit overrated, but I do think that he is rated and it's valid. Like, I do think he's a good coach, but these coaches in particular do the same thing. They all do the same thing to him. Every single one.
Any
Mid-block.
half decent coach gives. It's a bit weird because
Yeah.
Mikel Arteta, the top 6 record is there, but any half decent
Yeah.
coach is giving us issues really. And anyone that's a bit of street smart, like I don't listen. Big up Sean Dyche, but we all knew at the Emirates what Everton were going to
Yeah.
do. He knows what time it is. I don't know what Eddie Howe's got against Mikel Arteta. He's had the better of him. Una Emery, we haven't. Emery's had the best of him, but a couple of times that we've had the chance to kill Una Emery's Aston Villa from a footballing sense, we have not taken that. Last season at the Emirates, everyone will blame Zinchenko and Jorginho and all them guys. Didn't kill it in the first leg. I mean, in the first half.
First half.
Areola deserves his plaudits. People laughed at me when I said Areola's a good manager. Bournemouth are good. They laughed at us when we lost at Bournemouth. But this is where I do think experience can be overstated, but it can't be overrated. This is what they're all pulling. And a part of me thinks Mikel Arteta, regardless of if you're a young manager learning on the job, I hear that because you are in managerial terms. You've been here long enough to know what's going on now. You've been at City. You've seen how much times are you going to see the same thing and be surprised? So it's either sheer ignorance now or something else.
Exactly. I want to get into some individuals because people are bringing them up. Big says this of a manager is running our players into the ground as well. Look at Odegaard. Man looks like something. And then Jordan says any manager that is serious about silverware is not relying on Martinelli, Odegaard, Havertz. I'm sorry. I'm telling you now, an elite manager came to Arsenal and those players are gone. So I do think that Martinelli and Havertz, let's push them to the side. I think speaking about Havertz, and I think we can all just say he was a poor signing, but he's doing all that he can. I don't think Havertz can do any better than what he's doing. So
it was a poor allocation of funds. It's a poor signing from the club's front.
Yeah.
Havertz, Havertz, you're a professional footballer. I can ask questions of you not scoring, but you're doing all you can in it. We squeezed the lemon out of that. You should be on the bench, really and truly. Like any team that wants to live or die by Kai Havertz scoring goals. If Kai Havertz is your top goal scorer in the Prem, respectfully to Kai Havertz, therein lies your issue.
Absolutely. Martinelli is something that we spoke about a lot last season and a little bit at the top of this season. But Odegaard is the next player that is really fallen off of the cliff. This season he's fallen off of the cliff. He's not able to really sustain good performances, weak on the ball, a little bit weak off the ball as well. Just
subbed in crunch time moments,
not finishing his dinner. Where I do disagree with Jordan is that if a new manager came in, I don't think he would get rid of Odegaard. He's still really highly respected by everybody in the league, but he is playing incredibly poorly right now, and that needs to be stated. Do you think that Odegaard is somebody that, do you think that this is something that's just a season-long thing, or do you think that there's more to it? Because I am seeing a turn where people that were backing him before are starting to go into, I don't think we can go into next season with this guy as captain. I don't think this guy is a starter for us. And even at the most hyperbolic, people are saying that we need to sell. What's the deal with Odegaard right now?
I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if you're carrying an issue. I don't know if it's to do with you having a kid or all that. That's all speculative. All I know is you're not doing the job. At a point earlier on in the season, you was playing well, but you were missing chances. So I'm not necessarily surprised that he's missing chances, really, and he
Yeah.
can do a lot better in that regard. I wouldn't listen. If it was up to me, Gabriel, Declan Rice would be the captain. I'm not going to strip Martin Odegaard of the captaincy, but this is we've had these conversations around if certain men get injured, if certain players are injured or not doing the job. Like in this case, Martin Odegaard. There's no one else that's going to provide that creativity. Fabio Vieira's not here. Smith Rowe isn't here. We have to kind of be a bit cute and clever with what we do with Ethan as well, especially in that role. We're at where we're at, man. Odegaard just needs to get his act together. And you listen, I love Odegaard. I love him a lot, but he's soft. Like it's on brand with what we have. Like we've got a bit more mentality, but unfortunately, he's soft. Like when it's crunch time, there's only certain men that are really down for the cause on a
You think
consistent
that the
basis.
manager would come in and make somebody else the captain?
If you get stripped, you get stripped in it because you're not a traditional English captain. But from what you
Yeah.
hear, he's a big voice in the changing room. He said himself, we're a young squad, and we are the majority of our players are young, and he's significantly older than the Lewis Skellies and all of that. So maybe he's the poster boy of what's going on in that regard. Yeah, to be honest with you, with this captain shit, everybody just be a captain in it because when I watched my team win, when I watch my team, the Invincibles, obviously I know who their captain is, but everybody's standing up to be counted.
Yeah.
City's an anomaly. I don't care if Martin Odegaard's wearing the captaincy. I'm seeing everybody want it, but the issue with us is I'm not going to be disingenuous to the players. You can't be at it sometimes. You can't be on it half-heartedly sometimes. It needs to be the minimum. I'm not naive. I do think they wanted to play well in that, but fundamentally, the performance and the talking that needs to be done with your feet ain't done, man. Like Odegaard is soft. When it's crunch time, he does need to. He did get removed, and that kills Mikel Arteta to do that. But you're not doing the job. But who else is going to play?
I agree with if I could choose a different captain, I would. Odegaard is not my favorite player because I think he's a great captain. It's just because he's a good player and he's fun to watch when he's on it. But would be my ideal captain? I grew up with Vieira being fucking captain. Absolutely not. In fact, when Declan Rice first came, I was like, you probably shifted on now, but it is what it is. Now, in regards to people saying he should be stripped of the captaincy, what does Odegaard being captain have to do with other people doing their job? Because as an Arsenal player, it should not be the case that you're watching your captain and you're saying, well, because he's not performing, that makes it okay for me not to perform. Because he missed a chance, that means that conceding makes sense right after. It just doesn't. And I think there's a lack of accountability. I think what ends up happening is when we have one scapegoat, it's all their fault and just their fault, but we relieve everybody else from being responsible. And I think the entire team is responsible for the season, the manager and the club. Odegaard's thing is he doesn't add anything from a leadership perspective that we can see. So I don't know how the players feel about him. I'm sure the players feel differently because we're not in the locker room. But from what we can see, because his performances aren't great and we don't hear him, he's not a shouty. I think you just don't feel like you see any leadership out there. So yeah, it's a tough one. I can stomach the missed chances to a certain extent, but I feel like his overall performances are quite.
He's been anonymous, man. Let's be real. You
Yeah.
have to hold man to high standards. He's been anonymous. Even the chance, like, yes, he should have scored it, but it's dead as well. Like he's hitting the outside of the post. Like, and this is why I think it's a mixture of stuff. There's so much on the tactical front, on the technical front, on the recruitment front. It's all just a negative mixed drink of nonsense at this moment
And
in
that's
time.
the only chance that we had. That was like,
And if our creativity is dying by Odegaard, then we're not a creative team. We're not. Even though we're not even creating from central areas. I do think he misses Saka, but fundamentally, Odegaard, you need to get your act together. It's as simple as that. I don't know what you need to do, but you need to get your act together. Goals and assists are one thing, and we want you to get that influence in the game, man. Fair enough, you're not going to fly into tackles and that, but we're not really seeing you like that. Against City, I saw you was dropping into our half, building up play. You obviously scored, you was about. But this is on brand. There's only a few players in our team, mainly the defensive ones, that show us a real long body of consistency. 3-4 games, couple man are going to play out their skin. Then they're going to revert to type. And if you
Agreed.
want to win a league, Jess, that's why I said if you want to get top four, you can deal with this level of inconsistency and the questions we've got. If you want to win a league, it's a different level. And I don't want to be negative for the sake of it, but it's a different level of mentality, of consistency, of playing to that higher level. And we talk about fine margins. We missed out by 2 points last year.
Yeah, there's so many layers, and I feel like everybody wants it to be like one particular thing because I feel like that makes it easier, but there's just a lot of stuff. We just don't have those characters in the team that just get it done. And that should be your captain. And that's why I'm looking at Odegaard as like, you're not really one of those people. When it's going good, you're usually a part of it. But when it's going bad, it's very rare that I see you standing out from the pack. And that's a problem. But you watch somebody like Liverpool play, they have like a consistent goal scorer.
Everyone's a dog in that Liverpool team, man.
Yeah, they have the mentality. Like, they have the mentality. They don't really let their heads go down. If they concede early, it's not the end of the world. Like, you wouldn't catch Salah missing a sitter and then Van Dijk and them just going, oh, well, we're just going to concede now. You just don't really see that.
But
And so,
even with that, just like that's how you know it's a mental game. Even Anthony Gordon yesterday, he was like, "If I miss a chance, I don't care." It's that sort of level. Like, I'm not
yeah,
getting that Kai, but there's times where, like even against City, the first chance you missed, fortunately we won. You're doing all of this. Now I understand it. You're human. Get on with it, bro. Get on with it. Like, people were clipping up my watch log. Just get on with it. You missed a chance, go again. We need a striker and players who think like that. When things are going well, you're not as good as you think you are. When things are going terrible, you're not as horrible as you think you are. We just need that headspace. And we're an emotional team, very emotional team.
yeah, absolutely. Very emotional. And we need some of those characters in the team. But I'm not quite sure how we're going to get that, just kind of pivoting a little bit to, watching the Newcastle game. And for me, Isak and Gordon were the difference in that tie. They scored the goals, they created the moments. I mean, Isak got a lot of the plaudits, but Gordon was really, really dangerous in that pocket between Partey and Saliba, and they just never dealt with it. And they just created moments. It wasn't Bruno Guimaraes and Tonali and these guys.
I think they were superb as well, if I'm honest.
No, they were, but it wasn't like they needed to do it in order for them to create a moment. It was long ball from the goalkeeper, and they're just running us down. Isak gets in front of Saliba and knocks it over to so and so, and then they're off and running. They were creating moments. So
They made their own luck, man. There's a bit of fortune the way it happens, but they're proactive. Even Murphy did what you're told in Sunday League amateur level. It's great play. Obviously, like you said, it's a long ball. Gordon and Isak been involved. Obviously, there's a touch of fortune with how it's ricocheted off the post, but you make your own luck. You're told at Sunday League level, if you're Murphy, follow in. Expect that not to go in and you've got a tap in. And that's where we were very reactive. Listen, Saliba and Gabriel, you can count on one hand since they've been a partnership when they've got ripped. No shame in getting done up by Isak. But this is the thing. When the players that normally do the job for us, and mainly our defenders have been doing it in attacking sense, when they have the off day, it's even more peak for us.
yeah, and you saw that they got their first goal called back, and heads didn't drop or anything. They didn't concede right after. They just kept going after it, and we're just so different. But Sparata is saying like Gordon arguably gets into our starting 11 ahead of Martinelli and Trossard.
There's no
Honestly,
arguably.
I don't think it's arguably. I think those two players go straight into our 11. If we don't,
Immediately.
yeah, if we were to bring in those two players, I think most people would be happy. But we know going into the summer, we would struggle to get a player like Isak on 100+ million. We're not going to get Gordon out of Newcastle. So the types of players that we're being linked to, the Nico Williams of the world, the Semenyos, Sescos, how confident would you be that those players are the ones that are going to help us bridge the gap from who we are now to who we need to be? Because I think it's hard to see when one, players are not in your team, and two, they're not at the same level. Like Sesco and Isak aren't at the same level, but at one time, a lot of Arsenal fans would not have taken Isak. You know what I
And
mean?
Newcastle
Wasn't
fans.
this player? Yeah, nobody was, saying, "Oh, we should have got Gordon from Everton."
Well,
You
that's what
know,
happens when you do your flipping job. If you do your flipping job and you're really having conviction, we take risks on players that shouldn't be taking risks. Obviously, who knows? Like you said, Sesko is not in the same caliber as Isak. But I would argue, and I know this is a terrible logic, can they do much worse? Really? Like, even if everybody's fit, Saka is the only undisputed starter in that in that front three. Of
Yeah.
course, if Trossard and Nelly their forms out this well, then that's a different conversation. But player for player, Saka and Ethan are the only ones you're kind of building your team around, quote unquote. Havertz, you're doing your thing. You could do your thing on the bench. Martinelli and Trossard, you could do
Mhm.
your thing on the bench. Of course, if your form is out of this world, you won't be dropped. But they can hardly do a lot worse. They could hardly, they could hardly do a lot worse. Nico Williams and Sesko, and obviously we might not get them. But Mikel Arteta has made a big song and dance. So what we've been told is that he's so specific on certain players. He really wants them. If that's who you really want and we get them, I don't want to see excuses. But just I'm at the point now. Bring the players in and we can have these conversations in it. We all know, and I'm sure we're going to get into it. The war chest, this player, that player, the third, they're all being linked with us. We're at that stage as Arsenal fans. So for me, I don't really want to talk about the Seskos and Zubimendis and Williams and this one and that one until I see you holding shirts.
Yeah, 100%. Like Nico is saying, Sesko isn't ready at all. And the problem is we waited too long to bring in someone raw like Sesko in phase 5. I'll be honest, I think in terms of the summer, which I'm pretty I'm feeling like it's going to be a fucking mess, but I'm pretty detached from the phase thing. The phase. So that means we need to bring in blankety blank player. The way our attack is, guys, honestly, we need 2 or 3 players, and we could do a lot worse than some of the players we've been linked to. I think the turning the nose up at Ollie Watkins was wild to me when you watch our attack every single day. I get it, but holding on, keeping the powder dry because Ollie Watkins is 29 is wild when we can't even muster a goal against Newcastle in 3 tries. Sesko is somebody that it really reminds me of Isak. You wouldn't want him, but in a year or two, he's one of the best number 9s, and we won't be able to afford him. I'm even
What
turning
phase
around.
got Bournemouth, Fulham, and all them teams in?
I was about to say Semenyo too. Like, he's a player that I wasn't too high on, but now I'm looking at him and I'm like, we could do worse. We could do worse. So, what is your temperature on the summer window and this whole war chest and all this kind of stuff? What is your expectation for the summer window to get us to where we need to be at? Because we're
Expectations lead to
yeah.
disappointment. Just if the window closes and there's not a striker, there's not a left winger, there's not that long-term partner, assuming Partey goes for Declan Rice. If I don't hear more positive language from the manager who's going to be here surrounding our depth because we ain't got bodies, these questions are not answered. That's my temperature in it. Like, it is what it is. If we can wing a trophy, we can wing it. Or we're gonna do what happens now, where we'll have setbacks, we'll have good runs of form, we'll have an occasional shock result. There'll be, despite the fact we criticize our team about scoring goals, we'll pack a couple of teams in isolated results away from home or whatever. And
Yeah.
then ultimately in May, there's nothing to celebrate in it. That's where we're at. Now, trophies are not everything, nor am I suggesting I have a divine right to win silverware, but the manager talks about silverware. The players, William Saliba, talks about silverware. It can't be nice if you're someone like Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka. Well, mainly Saka. Last 2-3 years, you've been second place where Arsenal's concerned. You've got to a semi-finals for Arsenal and you haven't won anything. You've obviously lost in the Euros. The winners win, losers explain. Like, what is there? And I get it. Some fans, we've come a long way. We are second. It's not as terrible as we make out. But again, it's getting over the line. This is why I think there needs to be nuance to how Arsenal's discussed. If
Yeah.
these things are not addressed in the summer, dead all of that. I don't want to hear about phases and all of this because I think too much people try to be smart about football. They try and make out they know more or less than the other man or woman. Dead. The phase is to get silverware, man. Mikel Arteta said the other week, Jess, all of these statistics about the best team in 2024, that's great. But the reality is we need to win something. Who am I to argue with that?
Yeah, and I think I look
Dead.
at our attack and I just do not rate it at all. That I don't see us, as is saying, just one piece away. I genuinely think we need quite a few players, especially in those front lines. So, would you take Semenyo because he's been linked?
Bro, Jess, you're seeing what we've got. He could hardly do a lot worse than what we've got. Obviously, as well, we talk about mentality. When I look through his career, my man's come through non-league and all of this. So there might be that little dog in you. Like, I'm having that. Like, there's a lot of players I'm having that I might have turned my nose up at one point. But even Semenyo, the ball, the TV rights and everything has leveled the playing field. If you try and go to these lesser clubs with the greatest of respect to Bournemouth and what they're doing, you pay the money or you fuck off. Like, it's, you can't bully no one anymore, and that's the annoying thing, especially with the Premier League clubs. It's the same thing when we're linked with players. We're dilly dallying, like what you said with Ollie Watkins. Like, for me, if you've got 40 million for Ollie Watkins, there was no players, whether they're slightly younger or something, that fits the rebuild, that fits the remit. Sorry, fair enough. If there wasn't, then that's incompetence. It's easy for me to say on YouTube, and I'm not working for the club, but failure to maximize these last two windows. No sporting director. It's all a fallacy. Like, it's just a top four thing. It's clearly just get top four and that's it.
Yeah. And since the first time, like, there's a really good comment up there that I saw about them like dropping their levels because they're not winning anything. And I do kind of feel like if you're just in a top four race every season and you don't really feel like you're going to win anything, you do drop the levels. And so, and also when you have the same players, I remember when I was playing, and albeit it was at a lower level, but when you brought in new people.
What position did you play?
What do you mean? I played defensive midfield and then I also played right back.
Right. Oh, fair enough. No, I thought you were a striker or something. Fair enough. Fair enough. I just wanted to know what position you played.
No, I was one of those people, like, I was shit at scoring. So, you just start getting moved back. They started moving me back.
Yeah, I went from up front to fullback still. Yeah.
Yeah, they moved me to the back. They were like, "You don't score goals, bitch. Get back." And I was like, "Fair enough."
You put a shift in.
Yeah, they were like, "Put you back there," but it was cool. But when they would bring new people into the side and they were really good, you would up your level. You would up your level,
especially if they play in your position. I used to see it as, "Raw, you're what, are you offending me? Me? You think you need to upgrade on me? Okay, let's go."
Exactly. But we haven't really refreshed in those positions in a long time, if at all. Like Martinelli and Saka have been there since the beginning, which is fine. Don't get me wrong. But you brought Trossard in, who is definitely a backup, and Havertz, who was never meant to be an attacker.
Short-term fix, long-term solution where Havertz up front is concerned.
So they need something that's going to push them up, get the get the feelings up again, and then also make them feel like, okay, I might lose my spot. Like,
do you not remember Declan Rice's comments? I can't even, for the life of me, I can't remember who we played, yeah. But it kind of makes me feel that, yeah, Arteta's made mistakes, but the players feel a certain way. I can't remember who we played, but post-game, Declan Rice, who wasn't shy of speaking, he said something along the lines of, yeah, the manager had to play Tierney left wing. I'm sure he's trying to bring in players. That tells me the players are like, yo, obviously we need some help, sort of thing. They're not stupid. They're the ones playing. They know. Anyone, like, going back to Sunday League, if you're playing against certain teams and certain men are not there, is peak, because everyone has to raise their level and some people choke.
Absolutely, 100%. And I know some people are like, you're talking about the summer window now, but genuinely, we didn't really talk after the window closed. And I know a lot of people now have great expectations of the summer window, especially because the club is already briefing that we're going to have some war chest and it's going to be this and it's going to be that. So, I mean, their worst case scenario is so plausible at this stage that they don't get their number one target. They have to sell before they buy because they're trying to be self-sustainable. And if Real Madrid come and swoop in and get Zubimendi, I mean, it's just, there's so many bad angles for this where it could go wrong. But I do understand why people are talking about the summer window, because that's pretty much all we have to look forward to, because it looks like we're going to go trophyless again. And if we go out of Champions League early and all that there's left is the Premier League, I don't when's the last time, I feel like the last time that we had a season where we didn't really have anything to fight for. It's been a while. Not
That's
even
when
like
these players will turn it on, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not trying to see them in the sunshine playing all good and whooping people 5-0 when it doesn't matter anymore. I'm so tired of that shit.
But that's the thing about our club, unfortunately. I think when we discuss our football club, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's journalists, a lot of people have vested interest. A lot of PR is coming out from these journalists. There's a lack of honesty. It's very nice. It's all nice. It's all cost. It is that. And that's not how you win trophies, man. We're not here to make friends. We're not here to make family. We're here to win something. And that's what it's got to be like. And I know that that's even extended to those that, work for the club or work in cahoots with the club and whatnot. Because you can't be honest. You're honest, you're alienated. It's very much a silent, nice cult where everything's cuddly. That's not going to happen. I said this on your platform, and it kills me to say this about my football club. If you've ever watched Coach Carter or Mighty Ducks, or you better, if you haven't, go and watch that. That is us. That is us. That's us. It's foreplay. There's no penetration, but it's a great journey. It's fantastic.
Yeah. I
And I
mean, I,
don't think it's all bad. That's why I'm even more annoyed. If we were shit, like proper shit, then
exactly.
yeah, there's
But
actually something here.
that's why I said there's 2 seasons where we finished eighth, to me, were less damaging than these nearly seasons.
It's the hope that kills, Jess, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah. Like this now is just getting ridiculous. And I do think our fan base is a little easily swindled, but I think they want to be swindled. I think most of them do know
They
that this
love
is
it.
it. I
They
don't
love
think
it.
that they really believe. They don't believe that it's okay to go trophyless 5 years in a row, but they're finding ways to
There
rationalize
will be
it.
context, Jess, man. From I hear fans when we went out to Liverpool last season, and I understand it. I don't agree with it. From I'm hearing fans looking at the calendar list. Oh, we're only playing once a week now. Foolishness, foolishness. From they're doing that, forget everything. Certain people were happy. Were happy with the fact that we couldn't get anything. We got Sterling. He's a yard man. He's this, that, and the other. Dead. Like there's no balance and honesty. It's either it's all terrible or we make out that it's, which is now at this time, that it's all positive. And for those positive toxic people, they always make out that they understand football more than the average person. Like there's something special coming. Do I think we're building something? Yes, but at some point, if you're building a building or whatever, is there not an end date to when the building's got to be built? Sure, there's setbacks and you and all those things, but the building has to be up at some point. The foundations, all of that jazz has been here. It's about getting over the line now. It doesn't mean that I feel like I'm entitled if I'm not winning trophies. You're flirting with success. You're actually gassing up the fans and sometimes following through with it. You do a little bit and then you do enough, not enough, sorry. And then you do a little bit and then enough. And then this continues. And we're having the conversations we're having, Jess. And we know where it's going. I hope
Yeah.
I'm wrong and there's a Premier chance. It's the hope that kills.
Yeah. And I think the main concern for me now, no kind of feeling in my gut that we're gonna go trophyless, is how difficult it is gonna be to get people to re-sign. And then also the work that needs to be done to just sustain what we have now, but also go to the next level, because the world was at our feet after we first challenged. We could have gotten, except for the top, like let's talk the top 1-2%, we could have probably talked to, but we just missed that window so badly, I feel. And there's been a repercussion since then, and we haven't been able to fix it.
Look at City. The one time City got complacent, even when I'm reading the Athletic and stuff, the one
Yeah.
time they got complacent, they fell off. And City's a bit different because, again, it's all hearsay. But I was reading an article in the Athletic, I can't remember which one, but they were saying the people above Pep were saying, yo, we need to sign players, we need to freshen up. Pep said, we've got enough. And then Pep came out the other week in January and said, you know what, I made an issue, let's go. I made a mistake, let's go. We're
Mhm.
very different. We're not with that. Arteta's left to his own devices. As you said earlier, as long as the balance sheet is balancing, we're winging it. We're not setting our, like, success is not demanded. All the other stuff, being a good club with values, all of that, I respect it. I hear that. That has led us to this point. Getting over the line, we're gonna have the same old conversations, man.
Absolutely. And I agree with Flamboy. In the summer, there's a lot of, I wouldn't call it rebuilding, but I would just say like we need to bring in quite a few players. There's quite a few gaps. We know we won't get all of it. Um, and they're doing the PR around Jason Ito. Why do you think the club is so hell bent on hiring from within and also hiring people that have no experience?
I'm not necessarily against hiring people with no experience or within, because you have to do a thing. But like at this point now, that was something you had to do with Edu when we was building up things. We've got to a certain point where on and off the field, results have to be done. Jason Ito's out of his head, and they clearly like him because we saw the articles how he could have made himself Sammy Mokbel said it, like he could have made himself a hero to the fans by getting this player and that player. He wanted to be prudent. Ain't that what the Cronkies want to hear? Right? And he's not that inexperienced when you actually deep it as well. Like, of course he is, but he's been Edu's number two. So when Edu is getting these deals done or whatever, he's still in the building. It's jarring. Like, that's another thing. You need to get an experienced sporting director in, someone that has an equal voice as much as Mikel Arteta, and someone that even in January can make things happen. Like, what's going on? Like, it's very PG, and you can't be honest about the club.
Yeah, I mean, you read it, on your show, and I think you like if you guys weren't there, go back after we finish this stream and watch that stream because we went more in depth on this. But Diluted put
It's
up
madness.
the Ito stuff and like what the voice, like what the narrative was on him at the club, and basically they felt like he did a good job in the January transfer window. They rate him highly, and every time I
What
see
did
his
he do?
face, I'm just like, why are they forcing this guy on us? Like, this guy is like, he's not known. He's just somebody that's moved up the ranks.
Fans
And
lap it up, just though. You know what time it is. Like all it takes is the agents that the club filter info in and the knowledgeable ones, part of Arsenal Twitter. They start gassing it up. I might be naive. I'm not a fly on the wall. But what did you do? Maybe I'm wrong. Did any of our key players sign new deals? Did we address any areas? Did we get any decent outgoings? What happened? So madness supporting this club. You see, like people that actually think it's a madness. Sometimes I wish I followed the nonsense that I just see. I'd be a lot happier. It's a madness. What did he do? I might be wrong. What the hell did he do?
I mean,
But this is it. You control the narrative.
he kind of sort of tried to get Murata or Tell and didn't get either one. But he also held talks with Juan Garcia. So that was a great January window. This is just somebody that Arteta feels comfortable running over. That is my feeling on it, is he's somebody that Arteta knows that he can work with, which means he doesn't have as loud of a voice in the room.
Hey, you look at man in this, yeah, respectfully, 100%. Your name ain't got. It's not gonna, you can't make anything happen. That's why I said I want a sporting director who has as much as a voice. Definitely not comparing Mikel Arteta to Arsene Wenger, nor am I comparing any of these guys to David Dean. Reality is, whether I rate Arteta or don't rate Arteta, the man signed a new deal. We're getting top four. Nobody's cutting. But there's been times where Arteta's pushed and got things right. There's been times he's pushed and got things wrong. Equally, when we find ourselves in the latter stages of the transfer window, scrambling for Neto or Sterling, maybe a more experienced sporting director can make things happen. When it's become clear for whatever reason, Arteta don't want Morata, he don't want Tell, he doesn't want this. Can you make something happen? And I do always wonder, like, obviously, big up Arteta, but at times it feels like it's Arteta FC, not necessarily Arsenal. But again, the owners, as long as the balance sheet is balancing and they can see they're getting Champions League, they're calm with it.
Oh yeah, they feel like they looked at that January transfer window and said, "What's the big deal? We're sitting in top four. We don't get any real money from the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup. All we need to do is make sure that we're in that top four. Fine. What are they concerned about? I don't understand." But Boy makes an interesting point, saying Ito follows the rules Tim Lewis sets very well. And somebody had written about this like on Twitter. And because for the longest time, I've been trying to understand Richard Garlick and Tim Lewis. And essentially, Tim Lewis was brought in after the Pepe deal. Because remember, the Pepe deal ended up being a big problem for the club.
And yeah, defo made some money from that personally.
They never wanted to deal with something like that because they did their individual evaluation or investigation and found out that Raul was not doing the right things and never wanted that to happen again. So they brought in Tim Lewis, and Tim Lewis is a cronky lawyer. Like he's somebody
that's eyes and ears.
Exactly, and he keeps the money tight. He's the person that all of our transfers have to go through 5 or 6 people to get written off, to get signed off on, and he's the final sign off. If the money is not where the Cronkies want it to be, he says no. So if Arteta says, damn everything, I want to win this season, I want to get Ollie Watkins in, he says no, because we're only going to offer 40 and they want 60. There are too many lawyers in the building.
Everything's about resale value. And again, I'm not against resale value long term. That's all it's about, though, Jess. That's all it's about. And we get in this trap, and this is how fans get twanged. Why it's always next season and long term. There's a couple exceptions to the rules. I don't think Man United is different, but I don't think Man United cared when they signed Robin van Persie at 29. But this is what I mean. Dons want to win trophies. These Dons don't. I do think Mikel Arteta and the players do. There's other criticisms there. They don't want to be serious. And there's nothing even wrong with being a lawyer. I'm sure there's bare lawyers and accountants who are real footballing men and women. These lot know nothing. Bro, safe, man. Safe. 5, 6 people said yes to Sterling, as that comment says. 5, 6 people sanctioned Kai Havertz. You lot are seeing what I'm seeing, isn't it?
I'm so sorry, but this is like the funniest thing that Boy's ever said. And Boy's been in this chat for like 5 years. Tim Lewis making our squad look like his hairline. Nothing up front is fucking killing me. Like, because that guy's hairline is trash.
Leave him alone. Leave him alone, man.
He has no friends whatsoever because someone needs to tell him to get rid of that.
Wait. People are lying on us. Who said we're cool with back-to-back to it? Who was ever cool with finishing second? The fuck you lot on about?
I never said, what I said was the seasons felt worse to me with like now
No, no,
because
this comment says, but you two were cool with runners up twice and we're back on the same
oh,
situation. The
runners
fuck
up
you talking
twice.
about? I don't know what you're talking about.
No.
This is one thing that annoys me about content. People could
Yeah.
just say you said whatever. You could never tell me I'm happy with second.
I feel like what happens is if you're not raging after and calling everybody every name and having a meltdown every day, then you're just okay with everything.
I've definitely called out, maybe not in mad ways, but I've
Yeah,
definitely called out the fact that I'm not happy with second. Like,
absolutely.
definitely in these 2 years. What are you talking about? Rise up evidence. Like, you can't
No,
be throwing dirt on names. Just
no.
chatting.
2 seasons ago when we were in the Europa League, I remember us going through the group stage and we were horrendous. We won some of the games, but like the performances were horrendous. And I said it, and people were doing like dissertations on Twitter about it, going in on me, millions and millions of views of people saying that I was one of the most negative Arsenal fans and I didn't know shit. Only for them to tell the truth when we ended up going out against Sporting. Yeah, we weren't good in the competition at all. I'm so sorry. It can never be me. It can never be me. The amount of times that I've been cooked for saying just that's not good enough. It's just not good enough. So, yeah, no, I'm not going to rage every single. When we finish second, you're probably not going to find me raging.
There's
But
no emotion anymore to this. Like,
yeah,
realistic. I love
it's
the club. We'll always support it. But really, are you going to be that upset if you don't win major honors?
yeah,
What I saw in the summer, what I saw in Jan, what I've seen on a consistent basis, this ain't standards for us to win anything. There's a lot of variables that have to be perfect and that are out of our control.
yeah,
As we know, life isn't straightforward. Success isn't linear. It hasn't been linear to get us our Arsenal Football Club to this stage. Dead, dead.
exactly. Prince says Stan Kroenke and Josh Kroenke are widely criticized as the main source of Arsenal struggles. Their decisions prioritize their interests, often disregarding the impact of fans' morale. And this is like the conversation. If you want to go to the very root of the Kroenke conversation, of course they've given money, and the money maybe wasn't spent properly. But where they initially showed their lack of ambition, which is probably an unpopular opinion at this point, is not with giving Arteta money and then stop giving him money, is hiring him in the first place. You hired a novice. That
You
was
could
the
argue that's brave, though. I'm just
you
being
can,
devil's advocate.
yeah, you can argue it's brave, but you
It's
can also
innovative.
we were probably the first club that actually hired somebody that had like no experience whatsoever. And then a couple of people followed suit and they quickly said no.
And
Like
you got to remember, like I think we're doing the Cronkies a bit too much of a service. Wasn't it Edu who wanted him initially? It didn't bang under Emre, and he got him again for whatever reason. Arteta turned it down. That's why I say you can't just blame someone. It's a relationship of convenience. I do think
yeah,
Arteta wants to win trophies. He's going about it a mad way. He knows he's got a sweet gig. Let's not be dumb. He's like the second, third highest earner in the Premier League. He knows if he gets top four, he's calm. He's being allowed to do his thing. As Jess in the comments have been alluding to, you've got little man like Jason Ito and that who he's going to overrun anyways. It's a relationship of convenience. Nobody is blameless as to why we are in this mess. In the same way, to
yeah.
get us to where we are, everyone gets their fair share of praise. But again, we can never be balanced where this thing is concerned with Arsenal. It's a
And then
weird club on and off the field, man.
yeah, and
Love it though.
speaking of speaking of balance too, it's like we went from one extreme to the other. We went for Emery for short term. Emery was hired because we were in Europa League and they wanted to win Europa League. So they hired the Europa League like guy for it was a short-term thing. Everything that they did with Emery was short-term. That's why he didn't get his targets. That's why he was very much like on a short leash. Everything was short-term because they were like, we just need to win something. They went from that to fully long-term. Nothing in the middle. Nothing is ever in the middle. We didn't have to go away from the Emery structure as much as we did. We didn't have to go as long term as we did. There's an alternate universe where you have a different coach and you keep the likes of Aubameyang for a little bit longer and you build a younger squad underneath and you keep some of the pieces. We tore it all up and blew it up. That was a choice. This club is too binary. It's either short term or super long term, nothing in the middle. And they can't seem to get to like that equal where things are like synergy because they go
Much
with
like our fan
Arteta.
base, there's no unity or no balance. It's
Yeah,
either all amazing or all shit.
exactly. Because with Arteta, You'd think if you hired somebody with no experience that everybody around him would have experience, but they doubled down and brought in almost every single person that had no experience. And that's one of my biggest concerns with the club is that they can't seem to find a middle ground at
No,
all.
they found their middle ground, just because what you want, what I want, what people then want are very different to what the club wants. You don't have a summer that we had, regardless of whatever you tried to do. You know, if you apply for one job and you don't get that, are you just going to sit there and never apply for a job again? Or are you going to apply for several? We need to get out of this trap of, oh, that player didn't work, so we can't get one. Like, when you say, and this is why I'm a big fan of the media, innit? Like, if you're not a thinker, you will fall for these things in life, let alone football. These lot control the narratives. There's a lot of impressionable people. It's
Absolutely.
whatever, actually.
Nostradamus saying, are you worried that we've only scored from a corner once in the last 73 corners?
Nah, man, because that means we actually scored from open play for once, really and truly, man. Like, it'd be nice to start scoring from corners again, though. It would have been nice for Gabriel to bag against City from a corner, but such is life.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about it. I mean, it's going to go through peaks and valleys. We're not going to score from every single corner like we were at one point. I don't really care. Nothing says, but Jess, you were cool with Arteta last season. Now it's on KSE having lack ambition to hire a novice. Not necessarily. I think I still was one of the most critical on Mikel Arteta at the back end of last season. And I actually said at the end of that season, I was like, I'm being a little bit more like, because I could see some of the like issues that we had at the beginning of the season, but he needs to win a trophy this season. So this whole, but you were okay with Arteta is only because I didn't call him a cone man and say Arteta out and all those types of things. But I've always been critical of Mikel.
It's
More
like what
than
this comment
anything
here
else.
says from 94. He's bang on it. Like, that's
Yeah.
how I feel. Like,
Yeah.
Arteta wants to win trophies, but he's self-sabotaging himself. In the
Yeah.
variables he can control, he's not controlling all of them.
Absolutely. Like, there's just so many layers to it. You can say that he doesn't have the striker, but when he had an opportunity to spend 65 million on a player, he spent it on Havertz. There's so many different things. Maybe Eddie didn't get his number one targets because we couldn't, but there's just so many different things. And the team that he has, in my opinion, is not unable to win a trophy. Would it be really difficult for the team that he has to win the Champions League or the Prem? Yeah. But would it be difficult for this team to win? We were 3 games away from winning a Carabao Cup.
People act like people move like Mikel Arteta is the coach for the Jamaican bobsleigh team in cool runnings. Like, he's like, what's going on? Like, man, spent peas, bro. Like, some of these problems shouldn't be problems. Like, this ain't a woe is me thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's just so much. And that's why I think, because going back to like, obviously we've had like a crazy couple of days, and I knew once the red card situation happened that some Arsenal fans had found their reason for why the season has gone the way that it has. The red cards, the refs, and da-da-da-da. The refs didn't have anything to do with us drawing to Fulham and drawing to Everton. The refs didn't. Yeah, if you win those 2 games.
Or Newcastle.
Yeah, or Newcastle, then you don't have these like, we're in a completely different conversation. Exactly. So this whole like, yes, we have problems with the ref, but if we have consistent issues with the ref and we know that they're inconsistent with everybody, especially us in our mind, then we should want the club to go over and beyond to control those controllables. And
something you're taught in Sunday league or amateur football.
Yeah. We have the bare minimum requirement. And all it takes is one little scratch to knock it all down. One little scratch, and all of a sudden, it doesn't look the same. Saka out, all of a sudden, it's alarm bells. Saliba out, alarm bells. Lose one game, alarm bells. There's never any fail-safe or any sort of wiggle room. And this whole season has felt kind of like one loss, and it's over. And it should never feel like that, but it always feels like that. I don't know if you've seen it that way, but it always feels like we're one loss away from catastrophe.
I get it, but I don't get it. I get it in that, like, we shouldn't all, like, our team's weird in it. Like, we will lose 5 games, feel sorry for us. If we win the next one beyond that point, we'll play amazing. But again, it's fine margins. My mentality is you finish 2 points off City. It's not about what we've done before. It's about going to the next level. Now, as cliche as it is, every game is a cup final. And as I've said in the last 2-3 years, we are shooting ourselves in the foot on and off the football pitch. Of course, refereeing and red cards. Arsenal fans, we know what's going on. But equally, there's been times where we've been done dirty, and there's also been times where, like Wolves, like City, earlier this season, where we still salvaged it. Like, we're not controlling all the controllables. We can't honestly look ourselves in the mirror and saying we've done everything we could have done, going back to the summer or January or everything that's led to us to this point. It is what it is. Fight for as much as you can in the Prem. Hope for the champs, but be prepared for a silverwareless season. Again.
Yeah. Maximia says, Jess, what do you think will be Arteta's legacy? Will it be limited to just FA Cup? History won't remember him taking the team from 13th to 12th to second thrice unless he wins important titles and trophies. And I'll be honest, I'm not particularly concerned about Arteta's legacy. I'm more concerned about Arsenal Football Club.
Who cares? Big him up, but who cares?
Yeah,
you make your own legacy, man.
Yeah, I'm like, whatever. Like, I'm not as attached to Arteta as other people. I feel like I could envisage us with a different coach and things.
Some people fancy him.
Yeah, they love him more than they love anything else. Johnny D says, I wish Saliba would have been out for the Newcastle return leg. I mean, he had a mare. It is what it is.
What it is.
You know, I mean, I would say that if you're gonna get absolutely whooped, at least let it be like Isak. If that had been like Dominic Calvert-Lewin, then I understand a little bit more.
You can count on one hand the amount of time Saliba, Gabriel, Raya have let us down. And it happens. Like, we've seen Rio Ferdinand, Sol Campbell, John Terry, Jerome Boateng. The list goes on of great defenders. Henry used to tear up great defenders week in, week out. It don't mean you're a bad player. It's like it is what it is. You had a shit game, you move. Van Dijk's been ripped. It don't mean he's any less of a centre half. I know football's weird, especially social media. You think strikers have to score all the time. Defenders never get troubled. No one ever gets nutmegged. No one ever makes a mistake. Fair enough, though, man.
Absolutely. Boss J says he just hasn't learned from any mistake he's made.
Exactly.
Repetition of failing strategies, tactics, squad rotation is the definition of insanity.
Facts.
And I agree with that. And that's why it's so layered. You know, you can blame the Cronkies for doing what they've done. You can blame the higher ups for not being able to get the targets or, you know, not sanctioning moves. And then you can look at Arteta and his tactics and, you know, how he applies to the game. And then you can also look at the players for just not being up for it. When you wear that Arsenal kit, you need to be up for a semifinal. For them to have done what they did against Man United and Newcastle, for me, made me look at them so differently. And I hate to say that, but some players have not gotten right in my head again. I look at them so differently based on those two games.
To achieve something in life you've never achieved, you have to become something you've never become before.
Yeah. And I'm seeing a lot of the same, which is basically pretty much like what we've said. Just to close up here, like, obviously they're going to Dubai and they're trying to get that old thing back and try to go unbeaten on the second half of the season. Do you foresee this Dubai trip having any sort of like change on our season, affecting our season in any way? Like, do you think them getting away and getting some rest could help, or is it kind of like too little too late?
It is what it is. Like, you know what? Go over there, take some time to breathe. The negatives and positives have got us to that point, and then get back to training, bro. Just get back to training. It's one we'll only know in hindsight, because if we come back from Dubai, still stink up the place, what do we go there for? If we come back from Dubai and go on a mad run, whether we win something or not, it's different. Dead, man. Just do what you need to do, man. Yeah, it's mad cringe. It's mad cringe. 100% is cringe, man. Like, for me, that's a gal thing. Like, oh, I want to go on holiday. I want to get away. I want to get away. I'm just having a bad time. Like, that's dead. Like, I hear it, but that's dead. Dead. Yeah. It might help. Just get back to winning games. That's the easiest remedy for our headache. Win games. Stop doing the negatives you've been doing.
Exactly. And if you had to say, like, you're the crystal ball and what you think is going to happen for the rest of the season, how do you think we're going to cope with no more domestic cups, just Champions League and the Premier League? Do you think we'll be able to mount a little bit of a challenge, or do you think we'll kind of fade into the top four situation and just go about our business? Like,
these boys can't afford it to get any worse. Mathematically, everything's debatable in it, but they can't let it get any worse. I'm not happy to finish second, but it could be a lot worse. Make sure you finish second. Carry, you know, every week. All you can do is win games in it and just keep it a talking point. That's all you can do. Champions League, just don't get embarrassed in it. If you can do your thing, you can do your thing. If not, boy,
Yep.
if nothing changes, nothing changes. And I listen, I love the football club. I actually don't dislike a lot of you players, but I don't think you lot have it. I don't think you lot. I didn't think you lot had it last year. Don't think you had it in the summer. Don't think you got it now. I think some of you do. I think you can put form together, but more of the same, just man. Like
Yeah.
we're gonna be here next season saying the same old thing, man. But we love the club. Eh?
And my final question to you is 3 names in the summer that for you take us to the next level. Go. And don't say freaking Mbappe. You know, give me something realistic.
The man, the Don, nothing's realistic to take us to the next level. It's all a hindsight thing. I do like the Seskos and the Zuba Mendes and the Ryan Cherkies and all of them, but you need to be getting the Isaacs and guys that you're not gonna get. These are the ones that take us to the next level, man. Like these are the ones that I can evidently see. I would say take us to the next level. I'd love West Ham's Kudus, but are you gonna put the money down or are you gonna get these guys before? I don't know. A small hope we circle around for Gyökeres. It's a myth, man. It's a myth. It's a myth.
Fair. All
It's
right,
a
guys.
myth, man.
It's just so grim right now. Make sure you guys like and subscribe on your way out. We did a show on Diluted's channel as well before this, and we spoke about some of the same, but a lot different. So make sure you guys check it out. Where can everybody find you?
Just type in Deluded Gooner on YouTube, man, and we'll be there, man.
Alrighty. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.
Come on. Peace.